Cleveland. Mark has been coming to our Native American conferences almost every year, I believe, and when I call him, he gives up his day of work and spends it with us, and he is today playing the flute for us. A couple of things about Mark Cleveland. He's a Chicago area performer. He is of a Cherokee ancestry. He has been playing music for more than 15 years, sharing the lessons that he has learned in his own spiritual journey. This summer of 2007, he will be featured in many Chicago area festivals, including, in particular, the Silk Road Project with Yo-Yo Ma, which is on March the 4th. And also at Millennium Park with the Nawang Kachong, the Tibetan group, which is part of the World Music Festival. So, Mark Cleveland, where are you? Thank you, Mark. Thank you for being with us. And without further ado, Dan Creeley.
Good morning. Hold on for 1 second. Just take a deep breath and then let it out slow. And what we're going to ask you to do is just be here for the next hour. We're very honored to have our next speaker. We asked Ajit if he could bring some warm weather from India with him. He didn't do so well so far, but I think his talk's going to be very interesting. I came in from Des Plaines today. He came in from India to be here at our school to share this today, so we're very, very, very honored. Ajit was a former nuclear scientist in India, and he started to have dreams about an old Vedic fire that could help the world, and they came for years. And in his traditions, there's people who do healing with energy and healing with the fire. And he was already helping people with Reiki, and they never mix. And one day a man showed up at his doorstep and said, "Ajit, I'd like to talk to you." He said, "I've been in the rainforest for 30 years at sunrise and sunset, lighting this sacred fire to replenish the oxygen in the atmosphere. And I'd like to come and ask you to help me and share this with the world." So he's pretty much been called on a different level to share the things that he does. And he's now been coming, as far as I know, to Chicago for about 2 years with Dr. Duster and a bunch of people here that he trains. So if you're just here listening today, just listen with your heart, and something might resonate for you. And if you just leave here today and it makes you think about becoming a better person with your thoughts, then it's time well spent. In the traditions of the native people, what we're going to do is offer Ajit some tobacco, and I'm going to offer this to him 4 times. So he has an opportunity to think if he'll accept it. So we slow down a little bit, just instead of throwing it at him and saying, "Hi, can we do this?" It'll give him an opportunity to think that through. If you heard Bob and Lee Nitsch's talk this morning, they talked about the decisions in the councils taking years and years, so they never rushed into anything. So I'd like to invite Ajit up, and first of all, just thank him for coming here. And I'm going to offer him this tobacco. And I'm also going to give him an earth marble. It's a marble that has all of the land masses on it, because the work that he does impact the world. But I have one more gift I'd like to share. My wife and I had a chance to go to Hawaii a couple of years ago, and then down in New Zealand, and we've visited special places. In here is some green sand. It's from one of the only green sand beaches in the world, and it's from a small cove on the big island in Hawaii where they believe the people landed. And the black stones are from the black stones of Kaikoura in New Zealand. And Ajit has a very special place called an ashram back in his home. And people travel from all over the world to come, so we'd like him to put this in his ashram and remind him that the energies and the blessings he brings do travel all over. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. If you want to go up there, here. Also, if anyone liked Mark's music, I asked Mark to bring some of his albums, and Yasmin said already this summer he'll be playing with Yo-Yo Ma and several other people, so Mark will be around here with us today.
Good morning. First and foremost, thank all of you for being here. I thank especially Dan for presenting me so many things, gifting me so many things. And I think it has given me two insights, right, when he was doing this particular ceremony. First and foremost, he didn't have to offer me 4 times. He could have done it only once and I would have accepted. Second thing what really hit me was, see, I mean, he gave me a choice of acceptance 3 times. And the 4th time, he said, you may or you may not. Do we offer these kind of, make these kind of offers of acceptance of rejection in a normal life? We don't. I have been working greatly on the, what you can say, the ancient wisdom, ancient science, as I like to call it. And the modern science today, that as a scientist, this is my major hurt or major worry, major concern, I should say, that we are not offering enough opportunities for the ancient wisdom to succeed or otherwise. We are rejecting a lot of things which are tremendous human values in the past without giving it a chance to prove or otherwise. And that is a mission which I have taken in my life, to look into the ancient wisdom, because we are in the process of research, not in the process of search. As a scientist, it really creates a lot of thoughts in my mind. Where is the science going today? We are losing the direction. The modern science is losing the direction somewhere. The question that I've got to, and we all need to ponder over time and again, are we getting happier with the times? Or are we getting more miserable? As a healer, when I look at all those miseries around, unfortunately I've got to say the misery is growing geometrically, while the science is growing linearly. I think there's some mismatch. So this is one attempt which I have been making for the last about 15 years as a nuclear scientist. And a lot of people ask me on this path, what happened to a nuclear scientist suddenly? I mean, what are you doing all these things? And I've got to tell them that I've become a clear scientist. Yeah, there's a lot of clarity in what I'm doing today. The science with the direction, and that is what I think we all need to look for. Fortunately, we just had about last week, I think it was the 4th or 5th of February, I don't remember exactly, just about last week, there was a Paris Convention on the global warming. Let me start with that, because this is very fresh in our mind. And this is something very historical in the terms of science, because this is the first time the modern scientists have accepted the responsibility for creating a mess what we have today in. For the first time, the science has accepted that it is the human activities which have created all that we are currently looking into, the global warming and otherwise. So today we are trying to find out the solutions. And today I'm going to talk about 2 things which will open the possibilities where we can have a better life, a happy life, a healthier life. And one is the Agnihotra and the other one is Reiki. And I've been asked to talk on both. And before I start formally, let me tell you that I already started feeling to be a part of this institution. I've been coming here for the last 3 years very frequently, Practically every 3 months I have been here. And the moment I entered, I told Mr. Rohit Joshi that something about this place, maybe I don't know whether you believe in the rebirth, reincarnation, but I started feeling that maybe I was born in this premises somewhere. I had very strong bonds for this institution. Yeah, so I thank you all once again, and let me start my presentation. I think we have some problem. Are we okay? Are we all right with the AV? Yeah. So Agnihotra, and I think the first slide that we have put is Agnihotra, our last chance. Yeah? What happened to that slide? Yeah? Go back. Yeah. Agnihotra, our last chance. This is today's theme. Okay? The last chance towards what? There are some revealing facts which are coming in front of the science today. And one of the facts is, why this global warming? Today, we are all talking of global warming. We are all talking of cyclones. We are talking of different kind of climatic patterns. The question is why? The question is not what we are going to do about it. We are all trying to work out around. Now the global warming has happened, the climatic changes are happening, and what we are going to do about it. I think the first and serious question that we need to address ourselves is why it has happened. And we have got to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Otherwise, we have not learned enough. The Agnihotra is a very old Vedic technology, ancient Vedic technology, which basically talks about the environment. And when I'm talking of environment, I cannot really separate the individual from the environment. We all work within these two spaces. The one space is your own existence, that normally we say body and mind and other things, emotions, etc. And the second one is a reflection of that individual existence, which generally we call it as an environment. Today, the environment cannot be discussed in isolation. The question is, all that what we have done in terms of behavioral pollution, in terms of the thought pollution, in terms of the intellectual pollution, I think all that pollution is manifesting outside into the weather pollution or the atmospheric pollution that generally we like to believe in. And that is only the after effect of what is happening within every mind. The question is, how are we going to manage this? How are we going to manage the inner core, inner process of life? And Agnihotra and Reiki both have the common things, next one, which work towards this particular question. So we are going, that's why we have clubbed it together. Agnihotra, as I said, the ancient science of healing. Next one, please. What is Agnihotra? That is something which we'll have to really understand. Yeah? Agnihotra is a Vedic yajna, the ritual performed at dawn and dusk. It is a process of purification of the atmosphere through the agency of fire, tuned to the specific biorhythm of sunrise and sunset. You may be willing to learn this particular aspect, that in 2004, they say, NASA and what you can say, Pentagon, put together, presented some report to the President of the United States. And this particular presentation was based on 3-year study on the satellite research. And they reached a conclusion saying that the oxygen level on this earth is dropping drastically. Now, this is something which really put an alarming situation. In British newspapers, they talked quite a lot in July 2004 about this particular phenomena, when the report was first time brought out in British journals. And that is where people started seriously thinking about what is happening. Even before that, there were 2 incidents which happened on the earth, which are fatal or disastrous for the turmoils. One was in India in 1984, 3rd of December, when Union Carbide plant, there was an accident which released a lot of MIC gas into the air, and tens of thousands of people died, and millions of people were fallen sick, or some kind of injuries, or some kind of handicaps. They're still living with that. And subsequently, about 5-6 years thereafter, in Chernobyl in Russia, on the borderline of Russia and Poland, we had the nuclear accident because of 2 very ambitious nuclear scientists there, which created a lot of problems in terms of radioactive pollution all over the world. Now, these 2 things actually attracted a lot of attention of the people of which direction the science is moving. And Agnihotra has direct relationship with the 1984 accident in India of the Union Carbide, where MIC was released to a great extent. And that is the time when the scientists were working on this particular accident and the after effects of that, and they realized that in 400 houses in Bhopal, where the city, the town in India, where the accident actually occurred, where Union Carbide had a plant, and they realized in the 400 houses nothing happened. And those 400 houses are scattered all over. They're not from one particular locality. And when they investigated even more, they realized that in these 400 houses, there was one thing which is common. And what was the common thing? They were all performing this Agnihotra ritual. That was one thing which was some kind of a realization, some kind of understanding that scientists reach. And when they investigated even more, what they realized is this particular process of Agnihotra, which is done on the sunrise and the sunset time, is actually works on certain atmospheric effects, and it works on restoring. This is performed by starting a sacred fire by chanting sacred verses and reciting a prayer to Agni. Agni means fire, and Hotra means healing. It's a Sanskrit word. Agnihotra means healing fire. And what does it heal? It heals the environment so that the bodies get healed, so that the mind gets healed. It has a direct impact on the human existence. And this is one phenomena which has been scientifically tested and proven in last about 30 years. Right from 74 the work has been on, but from 84 after the accident of Union Carbide, the developed countries like America have started looking into that. The Poland, which suffered because of Chernobyl accident, has been extremely aggressive in launching Agnihotras. And I'm very happy to share with you one particular knowledge of Poland as a nation. Not a single village in Poland today has not less than 15 houses doing Agnihotra every day for the last 20 years, which is something commendable. This is something nothing to do with the religion. This is something beyond religion. This is something is a science. And one needs to really understand this healing fire as a science. The fire is a fire. I don't attach any religion. I don't attach any caste and creed, nation. It is beyond nationality. So one has to understand how exactly it works. Let us go to the next slide, please. And let us understand the whole thing before we talk about the process of Agnihotra. The process of Agnihotra consists of making 2 offerings to the fire exactly at the time of sunrise and sunset, along with the chanting of 2 small Sanskrit mantras. Next one, please. The offering consists of 2 pinchfuls of uncooked rice grains smeared with few drops of cow's pure ghee. The fire is prepared out of dried cow dung, cakes in a small copper pot. Now, this is something which I'll like to show you also within the next few minutes' time, how it is exactly done. Of course, I'll not be able to light a fire here because we may not have that permission, but I'll show you what kind of materials used. It's a very, very simple thing to do. The problem is that we are not understanding nowadays the simple things because our life has become so complicated. Now, somewhere I think we have lost that faith that the simple things work better. Now, this is one thing which works on a simple thing, which is hardly about takes 10 seconds or 15 seconds a day in the morning and probably 15 seconds in the evening. So about 30 seconds investment, if we can work out for 24 hours of the atmospheric freedom from environment problems that we are currently facing. I think this is something which will really help the modern life. The next one, please. And we are going to discuss each of these things in more detail if we get a time. What happens during Agnihotra? The smoke from the Agnihotra pyramid fire travels directly east in a counterclockwise spiral that is particular to these yajna only. Still, the effect shoots straight up a distance of approximately 12 kilometers. What happens is that this process has to be performed exactly at the time of sunrise and sunset. How do we know exactly when the sunrise occurs and the sunset event occurs? Now, that is pretty simple because of the technology again. There are certain good things about technology which can be used in these ancient science. You have to know the longitudes and latitudes of the place where you are. And there are certain German sites, the websites, which help you in working out the times, the entire year, the sunrise and sunset occurring at the location where you are dwelling or where you are staying generally. Now, at that particular point of time, what happens is now the scientists like Dr. Burke in Germany have found out, the quantum theorists have been found out, the quantum physicist is working on this phenomenon, and the most wonderful statement Dr. Burke, a quantum physicist, made in Germany lately, he says, the science, the quantum science accepts this happens. We don't know how it is happening. We still have to find out. But the science has absolutely no doubt about what is happening as an effect. And I've got a lot of scientific details. In fact, I would suggest you look into Agnihotra website. There are at least about maybe 100 websites on Agnihotra alone, giving you all the details, giving you all the scientific facts, giving you all the scientific data And I think one really needs to really open up our minds to get into these kind of technologies. What happens according to the Vedas, Veda literally means, it's a Sanskrit word, Veda means the wisdom, the knowledge, the pure knowledge, the direct knowledge, the knowledge beyond any corrupted mind, any distortion of mind. Now, this is something which we'll have to really understand. Thousands of years ago, how people could have found out what is going to happen to the atmosphere and how to restore that atmosphere. Now, we are going to look into the process even further. When Agnihotra is burned, there is not just energy from the fire, but there are subtle energies created by the reason, the mantras, and these are generated or thrust into the atmosphere by fire. Also consider the quality of materials burnt, and there is a full effect of this yajna. Now, what happens is the first radiation of the sun, and I'm talking of a radiation, I'm not talking of the light ray. The first radiation of the sun, when it hits this particular place, at particular point of sunrise and sunset, it bounces back. First thing, it comes into a pyramidal form, and then it bounces back into the atmosphere about 12 kilometers up, and when it comes down with certain kind of a nutritious substance. Now, and then it spreads, the whole energy is spread around. Normally there's a 750 square meters area around you, in that radius of about 50 meters. And this is somewhere, whatever the plants, the animals, the human beings around in that particular area get those energy pockets, energy kind of bundles, which keep on releasing for the 12 hours. So cycle is of 12 hours from sunrise to sunset, and another cycle of 12 hours from sunset to sunrise. Now, this is something which is unusual, which was never thought of by the science before. And today, let me just try, because we are talking in a very small time, I've got to present the whole thing. Let me tell you one thing, that today, even the cancers have been healed fully, and I think there are enough data, enough scientific data collected, recorded, and presented on various websites. I have got some CDs of some doctors who have confirmed how exactly it happened. So all these things we'll really have to understand why the human beings have this kind of a health problems today. The question is, what is the health? The question is, what is the sickness? I think we need to really go to the basics of the health as an industry. When we're talking of health, we're talking basically of healing, which is basically a wholeness. The Greek word helos. Helos means wholeness. And that wholeness means to be united with the whole universal consciousness. Somewhere that separation from the universal consciousness, that is something which is making us fall sick, making us all kinds of miserable diseases that we are experiencing today. Now, including, I think there are certain things, in fact, I can share my personal experience as a scientist with you. We had a case of, just last week before I came here, last week I had a case. There was a young boy, 25 years old. And right for the last 15 years, he had a serious problem with his brain. You know, what had happened is normally we are moving our limbs, our hands, our feet, as a voluntary, some kind of voluntary movement. For him, it has become involuntary movement, right from the last 15 years. He cannot stop moving his head, he cannot stop moving his hands, he cannot stop moving any part of the body. It has been continuously vibrating, okay? And doctors for the last 15 years have been working, the medical science have been working for him for the last 15 years. Okay? And finally, at one point of time, the doctor said that nothing can be done because the vital part in the brain, which normally controls these kind of mechanisms, has gotten dead. It is not working. So I've got to see him dying like this. And God knows how long he will survive. And this particular case was given to us last week. To be precise, I think it was somewhere on 1st of February, we decided to work on that. With the help of Agnihotra and Reiki, the spiritual healing technique, we started working on him. The first day, even the healers were finding it very difficult to treat him because he could not be static even for a second. And with great difficulty, we started working on him. And I'm very happy and very proud to announce today that on 6th of February, I started from India on 7th, on 6th of February, we saw him 100% healed. Which 15 years the science could not do anything. The so-called modern science could not help it. The question is, somewhere the science has to look into this phenomenon, how it happened. 15 years, that fellow could not stop his movements. What happened in 6 days? Now, I know this sounds miraculous. It is not miraculous. So miracle is something, the science which is not understood. I think the question is now let us understand the whole thing. Let us be open to understand this. And there are n number of cases which have been put forward, as I've been repeatedly saying on the websites. One has to really look into that. I've got a number of CDs to show you where the patients and the doctors themselves have talked about this phenomena. In Germany, they have been working great deal on the Homa medicines. This is called as the Homa. Homa means the fire. And the fire medicines, what they have realized that when ultimately the ash which remains, which is called as the miracle ash, even in the South American countries. In fact, it has been a great deal working in Peru and what you can say, Venezuela and Chile and Argentina. Most of these countries down in the South America have been very widely practicing Reiki. And I'm very happy to say that a lady called Mrs. Irma Garcia. Now, Irma Garcia is from Venezuela. And she was the lady for the last 20 years. She has been heading the women's wing of United Nations. Yeah? And the lady of that stature, after 20 years being the head of the women's wing of the United Nations, 3 years ago, quit the position and have totally devoted her time for this particular thing. Now, this is something which we'll have to really start understanding. I know the time is too short for us to say, but at the same time, let me also hasten, the time is too short also for us to do something about these kind of phenomena. We are all sitting on the brink of major disasters. And just about 5th of February or 6th of February, you must have seen 3 events occurred at the same day. One is the Florida, the cyclonic effect that we saw. The same day, around the same time, China experienced a major earthquake, 5.6 Richter scale. And the same day, same time around, Indonesia had a major flood, where I think about 3 million people, they say, have become homeless. And still they are trying to work around that. So this is happening to someone else today. Are we going to wait till it happens to us? Now I'd like to tell you a small story here. See, I've been talking on various forums, on various platforms. I've been trying to tell people, be careful. I think somewhere we need to really look at our lifestyle. Somewhere we really need to look at the purpose of the life. Yeah? But I think people, unfortunately, we have blocked ourselves. Now, maybe we don't want to really face the realities. Maybe I think the truth is a little too bitter for us to face. But I think the time has come. Yeah? There was one mouse, they say. Mouse, the rat, in the house of the farmer. At the farmer's house, there was a mouse. And the mouse, you know, I mean, being in the farmer's house, he could get a lot of grains to eat, so he was very happy. One day what happened, you know, the farmer and his wife went to the market and bought some box. And the mouse was very curious to know what it is. And he was very excited to begin with, because he thought there must be some food they must have brought. So he was thinking of a lot of enjoyment. He was looking from his burrow, and the farmer and his wife were opening up the box. He was very excited with the idea. He said, oh, there must be something good thing coming up. And the moment the box was opened and they brought out this, whatever the substance inside, he realized it was a mouse trap. Realizing it's a mouse trap, there was a panic. Because now he knew it was no longer a food, it's more of a poison. Yeah, I think it's something to do with his death now. So his whole existence was coming into problems. And when you're in panic, you feel like sharing. You know, he got the first signals of danger. And then he ran helter-skelter. He felt like sharing with somebody because this is a problem. And the problem never comes in isolation. The problem, because we are all part of the universal consciousness. Something happens to one, always everybody gets affected. So he started running around and he met a hen on the way. So he started sharing his problem with the hen. And he said, Miss Hen, I mean, this is what is happening, you know. She said, what's the problem? Why are you so panicky about? And the mouse said, they've got a mouse trap, you know, and we are all in danger. And the hen had a smile on her face, and she said, how come I'm in danger? This is a mouse trap. Mouse traps are meant for the mouse. Mice, not for me. And she said, she just shrugged away and said, oh, it's your problem. Be careful about this mouse trap. Yeah? And she walked away, and the mouse was very dejected because she didn't even sympathize. She didn't even share her concerns, you know. And he was even more panicky, more dejected, and he met one pig on the way. And when he met a pig, he said, look, brother, I mean, there's a problem there. He said, what's the problem? He said, there's a mouse trap in the farmer's house. He said, so what? He said, look, we are all in problems. We are in danger. And the pig had a great laugh, you know. He laughed very loudly, and he said, my God, it's your problem. It's a mouse trap, not a pig trap. And the pigs don't go into the house anyway. What's your problem? Why are you making me panicky? And the mouse said, oh, even this person is insensitive to my problems. Yeah. And he was dejected all the more. And finally, he met one goat. And the goat also, again, he shared with all his excitement. He said, look, goat, there's a problem now. She said, what is the problem? And the goat said, the mouse said, there's a problem because the farmer has got a mouse trap and we are all in danger. Again, the goat made a lot of